and welcome to Learning JavaScript. This is the first video in a new playlist series that I'm creating. We'll start from scratch, so this should be a good playlist for beginners who have never used JavaScript. If you're totally new to coding, check out my channel. I already made playlists about HTML and CSS basics, so I'm not going to go over all of the details here once again, but I'm going to go over the details of using JavaScript. Here I've set up a very simple example with an alert. So if I refresh my website, it's going to give me this alert message directly. And this is externally, but we can also add that internally. Here's the script in the index file. Let me delete the source. And if I refresh that now, we get an alert once more. So there are two ways to add JavaScript to your website. Internally, like here, and externally with an external file. I'm going to show you both. In most cases of this playlist, we will use the internal JavaScript. It's a little bit easier to show you how everything works if I put that into the same file. But from time to time, we might also use it externally. All right, let us start from scratch. So delete my files. We'll start with an empty folder. Call in maybe JavaScript tutorial website, something like this. That's a good place to start. Then you want to open an empty document. I use Notepad. Everyone has that installed, so you don't have to download a code editor or something. Just open a new window. Don't be confused here. My system is set to German, but you should find everything in the English version where it is here in German as well. It's the same position. This is going to be our index first. So we go to a folder. As I've said, I've called it JS tutorials website. Data type should be set to all data, and then add the name index.html. This is going to set up our HTML, the basic website. And once you've done that and stored that, you should see your default browser icon next to it. So I can now open this file in a browser, in Firefox for example. Let me add a simple text here. I call that test. I refresh it, and here you can see it says test, so our index works as it should. We don't want to leave it empty like this. Instead, we want to give it the typical HTML that's needed. So this boilerplate will add the doc type declaration and the HTML tags with language attributes set to English. We need a head and a body. Once that is done, let me add some elements to show you that everything works. We'll add an H1 JavaScript tutorial introduction and a paragraph right below it. We just call it connecting JS with your website or to your website, something like that. And if I refresh it now in the browser, we can see our heading and the paragraph. So everything works as it should. Let's take care of some information in the head. We'll have to use the meta for the char set and also for the viewport. If you search for HTML boilerplate, you should find all of that, and you can just copy paste it. If you're totally new, it's a good idea to type that in by hand, because by doing that and then repeating it a couple of times, you'll learn how to do it. The viewport will set the content to width equals device width, and the initial scale should be 1.0 or just 1. And we're good here. Let me add a title. When that runs successfully, we can see that right here in the browser tab. And now we want to add a CSS file externally, just in case we might need it in future playlist videos. So we need the link tag and afterwards our script tag for the JavaScript. Link must be set to relationship style sheet. And then the href is going to be our file name. I call that styles.css. We have to create that now. To do that, we'll open a new notepad file. As I've said, this is going to be our CSS. We have to save it as in our folder, JS Tutorials website once again. Data type all data, and we'll have to call it styles.css. So this should now pop up as a cascading style sheet type in your folder. Let us check if it's properly connected. I select the H1 and give it a background minus color of red. And there you go, you can see it, it works. So our styles.css was set up properly. Now finally, let us add the JavaScript file. What we need is yet another notepad file. So open a new window. It's going to be the JS. So go to data, save as yet again. We are in our folder, data type all data, and then call it, for example, myscript.js. .js is important. The name, you can adjust it. Just pick something that you want, but myscript is typical. And you should now see this as a JavaScript data in your folder as well. And now we have to get back to our index. Here's the script. And we'll have to connect it by using the src attribute, so source. And as a value, we'll have to use the file name. So in my case, myscript.js. Don't forget to save everything, so the index, the CSS, and then the JavaScript. And to test it, if it works, we'll add the alert yet again. And inside a text, maybe hello world, exclamation mark. Let me refresh the website. And it shows the alert. So our JavaScript was connected successfully. And this is how you can do it externally. As I've said, we can also copy paste this here in the head of our index and then get rid of the source. So what we have is the alert directly here in the index, encapsulated by script tags, open and closing, and then it also works. Whenever it makes sense for me to do that externally, I do that. But most of the time, the internal linking gives me a little bit of a better overview for these tutorials, so we might use internal linking a little bit more. I hope everything has worked for you. You need these three files, index, CSS, and a script, and then open it in a browser window on the left. And then you've got your setup for all of my playlist tutorials correctly done. I hope this video was helpful. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.